The immediate impact is in terms of more intense scrutiny and verification of visa applications, which per se is may add some complexity to the process, but doesn't have any direct impact in terms of an outcome as far as the industry is concerned. The second is more intense oversight on the companies that are using these visas in the US, and greater investigation both in terms of depth as well as possibly frequency. Again, given that the industry has been fully compliant with US laws, is in fact fully compliant with US laws and will remain so, that per se is not a major concern, although it could lead to increased costs in terms of compliance. And as long as these investigations are not too frequent or too invasive, beyond a point, I don't think, up to a point, it's not something that is a major concern, and certainly not one which has major impact on business. The other part of the executive order is something which, while it doesn't have any immediate consequences, sends a signal, and B, could have some implications in the longer term. And that is the direction to some departments, which are the connected departments like Homeland Security and Labor and the Attorney General's office and so on, to review the current processes and come up with recommendations on what changes need to be brought about, so that the program is able to bring in high-skilled or better-paid workers into the US.
So, you know, the fact that you're saying that this would lead to some sort of increased costs with respect to compliance, do you believe that is going to affect the margins of IT companies significantly?
I don't think that those costs are necessarily of a magnitude that will affect the margins substantially. We did see a doubling of the visa fee, for example, at the end of 2015. All of these, I think, individually don't very seriously affect the bottom line. But they all add up, number one, and B, they send a message that which is not very very welcoming. And this is something, I think, which should be, we believe, a matter of concern even to the US authorities, because high-skilled immigrant workers play a big role in the technology industry, something which was evident in the reaction of the technology industry in the US to the travel ban. And they play a big role in innovation as well. So while the desire to focus on more skilled workers or people who are at the higher end is understandable, it is a challenge not only in the US but all across the world, because wages or salary levels is only one indicator, not the only indicator. Or just defining certain occupations is also a very rough and a blunt approximation. Or defining specific skills is tricky because it keeps changing in the technology field. So it's not as simple a problem as one might think. And the efforts, while understandable and well-intended, are some things that will need to be thought through. And that's what we have been suggesting. That's what even the Prime Minister had mentioned to the congressional delegation, that this requires a more thoughtful and far-sighted approach.
In fact, this brings me to my next question. The fact that, yes, the sentiment will definitely be hurt with a move like this, but how does Nasscom and the Indian IT sector plan to take it forward? And, what kind of an intervention would you seek from the government? Are you expecting that in the bilateral talks going forward, this should be a major point of discussion?
First and foremost, as far as Nasscom itself is concerned, speaking as we do on behalf of the industry, we would want to and we would expect to be fully engaged in the process of consultation which the US authorities would undertake as they formulate, as they complete their review and formulate their recommendations. We had done that in UK and we'll certainly do that over here and give our suggestions. Many of our suggestions were incorporated in the eventual dispensation in the UK, and here also we will be very constructive in our approach. The second thing is, as far as the government is concerned, the government of India that is, the government has, I think, been aware of this issue. This was in fact raised by the Prime Minister himself to the visiting congressional delegation in February. From what we understand, this is very much a part of the bilateral discussions, because we believe it's a trade issue, and as both countries try to raise the current level of a little over $100 billion to $500 billion in terms of bilateral trade over the next few years, IT clearly is very central to that, and very central to India's interests. So undoubtedly this would be a part of the dialogue.
A lot of global activities have happened that are likely to have some sort of an impact on the Indian IT sector. The fact that Nasscom still has not given the growth projections for the entire year, do you believe all these things put together could in a way impact the growth projections going forward for the Indian IT sector?
In fact, when we announced in February that we are deferring our growth projection, now you perhaps understand more clearly what we meant when we said the level of uncertainty is too high for us to make any responsible projections in the month of early February, which was just a few days after the advent of the Trump administration. And clearly subsequent events, whether it was in the manner in which Brexit unfolded, or the resignation by the UK Prime Minister recently, or changes in Australia or Singapore, all of these are big political and regulatory changes in the offing. Equally, there have been bigger changes in the technology, in the economic scenario, economic landscape across the world.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.